Many companies are good. They earn money, they serve customers reasonably well, they survive for years. But very few become truly great. They do not merely improve for a short period. They produce exceptional results over many years and outperform companies facing similar conditions. In Good to Great, Jim Collins asks a difficult question. Why do some ordinary companies make a lasting leap to superior performance while others remain average? Collins and his research team approached the question by studying companies that had experienced a clear transformation. The selected businesses produced ordinary or disappointing results for many years. Then something changed. Their performance improved dramatically and remained strong for at least 15 years. The researchers compared each successful company with another business from the same industry that faced similar opportunities but did not achieve the same transformation. This method allowed them to search for differences in leadership, strategy, culture, people, technology, and decision-making. The findings challenged many popular beliefs about corporate success. The great companies were not usually transformed by celebrity chief executives who arrived with dramatic speeches and grand personal visions. They were often led by quiet, determined people who placed the organization above their own reputation. The companies did not begin with an exciting new strategy. They first placed the right people in important positions and removed people who could not contribute effectively. They confronted difficult facts without losing confidence in their ability to succeed. They focused on one clear economic idea rather than chasing every attractive opportunity. They created disciplined cultures where capable people could act responsibly without excessive control. They used technology as an accelerator, not as the main cause of success. Most importantly, the transformation did not happen through one dramatic action. It developed gradually. Collins compares this process to pushing a heavy flywheel. At first, the wheel barely moves. Each push requires effort, but the pushes accumulate. The wheel begins turning faster until momentum becomes powerful enough to continue almost by itself. This idea opposes the search for a single turning point. Observers often want to identify the acquisition, product, leader, or announcement that changed everything. Inside the company, however, success usually comes from years of consistent decisions moving in the same direction. The book became highly influential because it translated complex organizational research into memorable concepts. Terms such as Level 5 leadership, first who then what, the Hedgehog Concept, the Stockdale Paradox, and the Flywheel entered the language of management. Yet the book also has limitations. Some companies celebrated in the original research later experienced serious difficulties. Business conditions change and no formula guarantees permanent success. A strategy that produces great results in one era may become less effective in another. The book should therefore not be treated as a list of mechanical rules. Its strongest ideas concern how organizations think, choose people, confront reality, and maintain discipline. The central lesson of Good to Great is that greatness is usually built through consistent behavior rather than dramatic inspiration. A company improves when humble leaders, capable people, clear focus, and disciplined execution reinforce one another over time. Blink 1. Good can become the enemy of great. Collins begins with a simple but powerful argument. Good is often the enemy of great. A terrible company knows it has a problem. Customers complain. Employees leave. Financial results weaken. The urgency of failure forces action. A good company may feel no such pressure. It performs well enough to survive. Its products are acceptable. Its leaders receive reasonable rewards. Because the situation is not disastrous, people tolerate weaknesses that prevent exceptional performance. This applies beyond business. A person may remain in a good job rather than search for more meaningful work. A team may accept good results because improvement would require difficult conversations. A school, charity, or public institution may continue operating adequately without asking what excellence would require. The problem is not that good performance lacks value. The problem is that comfort can reduce ambition and honesty. Collins searched for companies that broke through this condition. The transformation did not begin with the belief that everything was failing. It began when leaders recognized that acceptable performance was no longer enough. They became willing to change people, systems, and strategies, even though the company was not facing immediate destruction. This is harder than crisis management. During a crisis, the need for change is obvious. During stable periods, leaders must create discipline without inventing panic. They need to explain why improvement matters while respecting what the organization already does well. The best transformations, therefore, combine dissatisfaction with patience. Leaders refuse to accept mediocrity, but they do not chase every new idea simply to create excitement. They identify the few weaknesses that prevent greatness and address them consistently. The opening idea of the book is also a warning against complacency. Success today does not prove that the organization is reaching its potential. Sometimes the greatest obstacle is not failure. It is the comfort of being good enough. Blink 2. Level 5 leaders combine personal humility with professional will. One of the most famous ideas in the book is Level 5 leadership. Collins describes 5 levels of leadership capability. At the lower levels, a person contributes through skill, teamwork, organization, and competent management. At level 5, a leader combines 2 qualities that appear contradictory: personal humility and intense professional will. These leaders are ambitious, but their ambition is directed toward the company rather than toward personal fame. They want the organization to succeed after they leave. They develop successors. They give credit to employees, customers, predecessors, and circumstances when things go well. When results are poor, they accept responsibility. Collins uses the image of a window and a mirror. Level 5 leaders look out the window to give credit to others. They look in the mirror when assigning blame. Less effective leaders often reverse this behavior. They claim personal credit for success and blame outside forces for failure. Humility should not be confused with weakness. The leaders in the great companies made difficult decisions. They replaced executives, closed operations, rejected popular opportunities, and maintained demanding standards. Their quiet style did not reduce their determination. It made their determination less dependent on ego. This mattered because ego can distort corporate decisions. A leader may pursue acquisitions to appear powerful. They may resist admitting that a strategy has failed because the strategy is associated with their identity. They may select a weak successor who will not overshadow them. A leader focused on the organization can make choices that provide no personal glory. Level 5 leadership is not the only possible form of effective leadership, and humility is difficult to measure objectively. Still, the concept captures an important truth. A company needs leaders strong enough to make painful decisions and secure enough not to make the company a monument to themselves. Great leadership is not the absence of ambition. It is ambition connected to a purpose larger than the leader. Blink 3. First decide who should be on the bus. Many organizations begin change by designing a new strategy. Leaders decide where the company should go and then search for people capable of carrying out the plan. Collins argues that the great companies often reversed this sequence. First, who, then what. Before deciding the final destination, they placed the right people on the bus, removed the wrong people, and moved capable individuals into appropriate seats. Only then did they decide where to drive. This approach recognizes that strategy changes, markets shift, technologies develop, customer preferences evolve. A company built around one plan may struggle when the plan becomes outdated. A company filled with adaptable, disciplined people can change direction more effectively. The right people also reduce the need for heavy management. They are motivated by responsibility and standards rather than constant supervision. This does not mean hiring people who agree with everything. Strong teams include individuals willing to challenge one another. The goal is not comfort, it is productive trust. Collins also warns against keeping unsuitable people for too long. Leaders often delay because removing someone feels cruel or disruptive. Yet hesitation can harm the entire organization. Strong employees carry extra work. Important decisions remain weak. The individual who is struggling may spend years in a role that does not match their abilities. At the same time, the book advises leaders not to treat employees as disposable. Before deciding that someone is wrong for the company, ask whether they are simply in the wrong seat. A person who performs poorly in one role may succeed in another. The principle is therefore demanding but not careless. Build the team before betting heavily on the strategy. When conditions become uncertain, the people matter more than the original plan. A strong organization can rethink its direction. A brilliant plan cannot rescue an organization that lacks the people required to execute, question, and improve it. Blink 4. Confront brutal facts without losing faith. Great companies do not protect themselves with comforting stories. They confront the brutal facts of their current reality. They examine declining market share, weak products, changing customer behavior, stronger competitors, and internal mistakes. They create environments where people can speak honestly without fearing punishment. Collins emphasizes 4 practices that support this honesty. Leaders should begin with questions rather than answers. They should encourage dialogue and debate rather than forced agreement. They should investigate failures without using the investigation mainly to assign blame. They should build warning systems that make important information impossible to ignore. A leader who enters every meeting with the final answer teaches employees to remain silent. People may know that the strategy is failing, but conclude that speaking honestly will damage their careers. The organization then becomes less informed at the top than at the bottom. Collins connects this principle with the Stockdale paradox. Admiral James Stockdale survived years as a prisoner of war in Vietnam. He maintained confidence that he would eventually survive while confronting the cruelty and uncertainty of his situation directly. According to Stockdale, the prisoners who struggled most were sometimes the unrealistic optimists who repeatedly expected release by a specific date. When each prediction failed, their hope collapsed. The paradox is to hold 2 beliefs at the same time. You must maintain faith that you can prevail in the end. You must also confront the most difficult facts of the present. Companies fail when they choose only one side. Pure optimism creates denial. Pure realism without hope creates paralysis. Strong organizations say, "The situation is worse than we hoped. Our current approach is not working. We still believe disciplined action can produce a better result." That combination allows people to respond seriously without surrendering emotionally. Blink 5. The Hedgehog Concept creates disciplined focus. Collins uses an ancient comparison between a fox and a hedgehog. The fox knows many things and uses complicated strategies. The hedgehog knows one big thing. When threatened, it rolls into a ball and presents its sharp spines. Its simple defense repeatedly defeats the fox's clever attacks. Great companies, Collins argues, develop a similarly clear understanding of what should guide their decisions. He calls this the Hedgehog Concept. It exists at the intersection of 3 questions. What can the company be the best in the world at? What drives its economic engine? What is the organization deeply passionate about? The first question does not ask what the company wants to be best at. It asks what it can realistically become best at. A business may possess a long history in one industry without having the potential to lead it. Conversely, it may have capabilities that could make it exceptional in an area it has not fully recognized. The second question concerns economics. The company must identify the factor that most strongly influences sustainable financial performance. Collins often describes this through a profit per unit measure. The correct measure might be profit per customer, store, employee, location, brand, or another denominator that reveals the true engine. The third question concerns passion. People are more likely to sustain discipline when the work connects with something they genuinely care about. Passion cannot be created through slogans. It must already exist or develop naturally around meaningful work. The Hedgehog Concept is not a target chosen during one executive retreat. Collins found that companies often required years of discussion and experience to understand it clearly. Once discovered, it became a filter. Opportunities fitting the concept received attention. Attractive opportunities outside it were rejected. The power came not from complexity, but from consistency. A clear focus allowed thousands of decisions to support the same economic and strategic direction. Blink 6. A culture of discipline is stronger than control by bureaucracy. As organizations grow, they often add procedures. One employee makes a mistake, so management creates a rule. Another department overspends, so a new approval level appears. Over time, the company becomes filled with forms, committees, reporting structures, and controls. These systems are designed to manage irresponsible behavior. They also slow responsible people. Collins argues that great companies build a culture of discipline instead. They hire self-disciplined people, encourage disciplined thought, and expect disciplined action. This reduces the need for bureaucracy. Freedom still exists, but it operates inside a clear framework. Employees understand the Hedgehog Concept, financial expectations, and organizational responsibilities. Within those boundaries, they can act independently. Discipline is not the same as obedience. An obedient employee follows instructions without questioning them. A disciplined employee understands the purpose, examines evidence, and accepts responsibility for the result. The distinction becomes important when the old instructions no longer fit reality. A bureaucracy may continue performing outdated processes because the procedures were followed correctly. A disciplined organization asks whether the activity still supports the mission. Collins also emphasizes the discipline of saying no. Companies often lose focus not through obvious failure but through attractive opportunities. A new market appears profitable, a competitor launches a fashionable product, an acquisition offers rapid growth. Each opportunity seems reasonable alone. Together, they pull the organization away from the core. A stop-doing list can therefore be as important as a list of new initiatives. The company must stop projects, habits, and investments that consume resources without supporting its central direction. A culture of discipline combines entrepreneurial freedom with consistent focus. People are not controlled at every moment. They are trusted to make decisions that fit a deeply understood system. Blink 7. Technology accelerates momentum but does not create it. During periods of technological change, companies often believe they must adopt every new tool immediately. Executives fear being left behind. Consultants promise transformation. Competitors announce ambitious digital strategies. Collins found that the great companies responded differently. They did not ignore technology. They evaluated it carefully through the Hedgehog Concept. When a technology supported the company's central economic engine, they adopted it with discipline and sometimes became pioneers. When it did not fit, they avoided following the crowd. Technology was an accelerator, not the creator of momentum. This idea is easy to misunderstand. It does not mean technology is unimportant. In many industries, technological change determines which companies survive. The point is that technology alone does not fix weak leadership, poor people decisions, unclear strategy, or undisciplined execution. A company can purchase advanced software and remain badly managed. It can automate a broken process and make the broken process operate faster. It can launch an impressive digital product that customers do not need. The great companies first understood what they were trying to accomplish. Then they used technology to strengthen that direction. This approach also reduced panic. Instead of asking, "What technology is everyone discussing?" they asked, "Which technology can improve the activity we can perform exceptionally well?" The difference changes capital allocation. A retailer may use data systems to improve inventory and customer understanding. A financial company may use technology to reduce transaction costs. A manufacturer may use automation to improve quality. The tool matters because it reinforces a strategic advantage. The lesson remains highly relevant as companies respond to artificial intelligence and other new technologies. Urgency can be useful. Fear-driven adoption often produces waste. Technology creates the greatest value when the organization already understands its customers, economics, and distinctive strengths. Blink 8. The Flywheel explains how transformation actually happens. Outsiders often search for a single moment that transformed a company. They ask which product, acquisition, speech, reorganization, or executive decision created the breakthrough. Collins found that the great companies usually experienced no single miraculous event. Their progress resembled a massive flywheel. Imagine a heavy metal wheel mounted horizontally. The first push barely moves it. A second push adds a little motion. Hundreds of pushes gradually increase the speed. Eventually, the wheel turns with powerful momentum. Each individual push contributed, but no single push created the result. Corporate transformation works similarly. The company hires stronger people. Those people confront difficult facts. The organization clarifies its hedgehog concept. Capital moves toward the strongest opportunities. Disciplined execution improves customer results. Better results attract talent and create confidence. The next decision becomes easier because previous decisions have created momentum. This process contrasts with what Collins calls the doom loop. A company becomes impatient with weak results. It announces a dramatic new program. When the program fails to produce immediate improvement, leadership changes direction. A new chief executive arrives with another strategy. The company restructures, acquires businesses, changes slogans, and repeatedly searches for one breakthrough. Because the actions lack consistency, momentum never develops. Employees become cynical. They expect each new initiative to disappear when the next one arrives. The flywheel concept emphasizes cumulative effort. A leader should be able to explain how one successful action naturally leads to the next. For Amazon, for example, broader selection can attract more customers, which attracts more sellers, which lowers costs and improves selection again. The exact flywheel differs by company. The principle is the same. Greatness becomes more likely when decisions reinforce one another over time, rather than competing for attention. Blink 9. Great companies avoid unnecessary acquisitions and heroic transformations. Corporate acquisitions are often presented as fast routes to growth. A company can purchase new products, customers, technology, or market share rather than building them slowly. Collins found that the good to great companies used acquisitions carefully. They did not rely on major deals to create greatness. They generally acquired businesses after developing a strong operating model and clear hedgehog concept. The acquisition accelerated an existing direction. It did not replace one. This distinction matters because acquisitions are emotionally attractive to executives. A large deal creates headlines and a visible sense of action. Investment bankers provide forecasts showing cost savings and growth. Leaders can appear bold and strategic. The integration work is less glamorous. Different systems, cultures, incentives, and customer relationships must be combined. Expected synergies may never appear. A weak company that purchases another weak company usually creates a larger weak company. Collins found a similar pattern with dramatic restructuring. Layoffs, reorganizations, and new leadership programs can sometimes be necessary, but repeated transformation campaigns often reveal that the organization lacks a consistent direction. The great companies did not motivate people mainly through fear or constant excitement. They created evidence of progress. When employees saw that disciplined decisions produced better results, commitment grew naturally. This does not mean leaders should always move slowly. Some situations require urgent action. A company facing insolvency cannot wait years for gradual momentum. The deeper idea is that urgency should support a coherent model rather than substitute for one. Acquisitions, restructurings, and bold announcements are tools. They are not foundations. A great company needs a system capable of creating value before it attempts to multiply that system through large transactions. Blink 10. Greatness requires principles that survive individual leaders. A company has not become truly great if success disappears when one executive leaves. Durable greatness requires systems, values, and people capable of continuing the work. This connects Level 5 leadership with the rest of the book. A leader focused mainly on personal importance may create dependency. Every major decision must pass through the chief executive. The strategy is understood only by a small inner circle. The successor is weaker or poorly prepared. When the leader leaves, the company loses direction. Level 5 leaders try to build something that can outlast them. They develop other leaders, strengthen the culture, and connect decisions to principles rather than personality. Yet durability remains difficult. Several companies praised in good to great later faced major problems. Circuit City eventually failed. Wells Fargo suffered serious ethical scandals. Other companies struggled as industries and competitive conditions changed. These outcomes do not automatically make every idea in the book useless. They do challenge the belief that reaching greatness creates permanent protection. No management system eliminates technological disruption, poor succession, ethical failure, or strategic decline. The concept should therefore be applied as questions rather than guarantees. Do leaders place the institution above themselves? Does the company have the right people? Can employees speak honestly? Does the strategy reflect real capability and economic logic? Are decisions reinforcing one another? Is technology supporting the direction or distracting from it? Can the culture survive leadership change? These questions remain valuable even when specific case studies age poorly. The final lesson is that greatness is not a status a company wins forever. It is a condition that must be maintained through repeated choices. Past performance creates resources and reputation. It can also create complacency. The discipline that produced success must continue, even after success makes discipline feel less necessary. Key takeaways from the book. Good to Great explains how ordinary companies can achieve lasting improvement through humble but determined leadership, strong people, honest analysis, clear focus, and disciplined execution. Its central concepts include Level 5 leadership, first who then what, the Stockdale paradox, the Hedgehog Concept, a culture of discipline, and the Flywheel Effect. The book argues that technology, acquisitions, and dramatic programs can accelerate progress, but they cannot replace a strong organizational foundation. The central lesson is that greatness usually emerges from many consistent decisions that reinforce one another over time.